I was actually about to jump over to something else I did this week, though.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
So, Mortal Kombat movie, and then I played a game called Phantom Brigade.
Okay,
Now,
I heard that name.
this is not the first time I've brought it up. It
This is
was the
the time shenanigans robot game.
exactly. It's from the people that made. It's from Hello, Brace Yourself Games, rather. It's from Crypto the Necrodancer, Cadence of Hyrule, and it is currently not out, but it is in early access on Epic Game Store.
Okay.
So, in a similar situation to Hades, I assume that like I'm gonna put some time in on this, and then at some point it's gonna come out on Steam, and it's gonna hit, and
And everyone's gonna be like, "Wow, it's out!"
I'll be like, yeah, like I've been I've been trying to push it. Yes, exactly. The early access is currently out, and they're currently going through like iterations and changing things and taking bugs and rebalancing. But what this is a mecha game where you are playing turn based, but on your turns you have a timeline, and it's free control over the next 5 seconds of what you want to do, where you want to go, where you want to shoot, and it's awesome. Super cool and stylish. I love it. It reminds me of like almost if you were to take segments of combat in like FF7 Remake, for example. Imagine if you were to split it up into like 5 second chunks, of queuing up your actions and then playing them out in a way, and then the whole thing slows down, and then you pick your next set of movements. The game was the one that I talked about when I went to PAX, I believe, like maybe a year or two ago, the last time I went, and was discussing like my potential game of the show because of how fucking cool this whole timeline ability was. I love this idea of like just looking at again like what your enemies are about to do, planning around it, but in this case you like it is completely free form, no grid or whatever, and you control like their like attacks and defense and movement abilities and like dashing and things like that on what looks like a editor timeline. Like if you're editing video, you have different
This has coolest interface for this kind of thing I have ever seen.
oh yeah, so you click on your unit, and underneath them you see a 5 second timeline with the first row is like like your left hand action, and then there'll be like, let's say, your right hand action on like or like your guns, your actions or whatever. Underneath that will be your movement, and occasionally there will be things that block off both. So doing a like a melee attack or a boost uses both your physical and uses both your movement and your attack at the same time. So both blocks of the timeline are taken up.
So I'm watching a video right now. It's from Ko's channel, and I think it's like a perfect example of like just how this timeline works, and it's fucking incredible. Like he's got one of his mechs running away and like a little tank following it, and as he's choosing where to put the second mech and like moving it around choosing the movement location, it shows where the other two will be at that location,
Exactly.
and then chooses where to shoot to intersect the tank
Exactly.
at what time. It is so cool.
You are not shooting where the enemy is, you're shooting where it will be based on your ability to predict the next 5 seconds. And you can use that to do all kinds of fucking super sick plays. One of my favorites, like for example, being the timeline shows you that like this enemy mech is going to circle around you and shoot you in the back, which is more vulnerable, right? That's no good. So what I do is I have one of my mechs like trained his gun on him to shoot where he's gonna be, but then I have a second one that tackles and pushes the enemy off of his projected timeline. So even though it predicts he's gonna curve around me, he ends up getting hit off base of that and ends up somewhere else completely. He ends up like on the ground by this overpass, you know, because it's also in a super urban environment. Where you're like, or like a suburban rather. So there's like houses and streets and, you know, like normal looking like places where people live in addition to like big buildings and cover. And like, yeah, he ends up knocking him over there, to which my original unit is now training his gun on that location where he ended up instead and taking the shots, you know? Like really, really cool sense of cover as well. That's a major part of the game. So the mechs are about, I would say maybe 3 stories high. They stand high. They stand head above a basic house.
They look to be 17 feet tall.
Okay.
They look like mobile suits. But with Vonzer components.
So it's not like footstep crushes your home type of, you know, giant sized. They've got that nice mid frame, you know, size to them. And yeah, lot of fun with the ability to move the camera through the environment fully and highlight everything and just anticipate the battlefield. And again, this is one of those situations where, unfortunately, it's not in the game yet, but the ability to watch the whole fight play out after the fact in real time would be fucking glorious, you know?
That's literally going to be my question as to whether or not that's in the game yet.
Not yet, at the very least. I don't know if it's coming, but it's not in the game right now, because it
like
is still...
I want like YouTube videos of like, here's how to S rank this mission, and it's just the play.
Yeah,
like in real time.
I mean, again, this was years ago, so it's understandably like a forgotten moment. But I came back screaming about how cool this game was. It was my favorite.
You did. I remember.
It was my favorite thing I saw. And I couldn't wait to play more. And now you can, even though it's early. And I'm still fucking in love with how rad this is. The fact that like a big part of the game too is not just like, you know, the perfect timeline and planning, but you overheat when you do too much, when you shoot too much, when you act too much. So you have to balance your overheat moments on the timeline by like, you can place a couple of like rounds of like, let's say shotgun fire, and then you'll be like, oh, like if I use these shots right here on my timeline, I'm still cooling down from my last action. That boost like shot me up into like 50% heat. So now I need to drag the shoot like layer forward until I'm like, and there we go. Now I'm perfectly cooled down, so that I can operate at an efficient level of like, the shot brings me right up to 99% without overheating, and it's the soonest I can get that shot off, you know? And then after that, I need to make sure that like I immediately upon firing will move into cover, because cover is a huge part of this too, and like having buildings around or things to interrupt where the enemy fire is coming at you is like a major part of like how you like, you know, stop damage as well. And you can lose limbs, you can lose guns, you can become a walking like a sitting duck, you know, very easily, at which point you have to eject or fucking abandon ship and lose the mission. So yeah, this is Phantom Brigade, once again, is the name of the game, and it's fucking incredible.
It looks like the fantasy of commanding a set of troops as a new type.
Okay, like, yeah, I can see that.
Like the perfect information aspect of it.
Yeah.
Like feels like, oh, what if Amuro was in the chair instead of behind the wheel?
Now it's because it's very early. There's like issues I had where like HUD elements were like not scaling properly with the size of my monitor. Things like, you know, I ran into some of those issues. But like what happens is, outside of these battles, you are on a world map with a real like with a timer that like moves day-night cycle according to like how your platoon moves across this map and stuff. Almost like, you know, when you're moving around from area to area in Bionic Commando. You pick a destination and then you start moving, and then other things start happening around the rest of the map, like a little bit like that, you know. And then you can go into a garage, customize your mechs heavily, top to bottom, find details, apply paint apps to them, you know, go all in on the aesthetics if you want to. So like that part's all in there for the fun design elements and things like that, which these days you gotta do, you know, like nothing wrong with how cool everything looked in fucking Front Mission, but like, you know, these, like, now that we can get down to the nitty gritty of like I want to change the whole body to this, but I want just my right arm to be red, you know, or like just my fist or whatever the fuck, like you can do that, you know. So this game is the hottest shit, and I expect once it's ready, which is going to take them a while, this to be a pretty big thing for at least Mecha fans, you know. Go check it out though, and again, it's just like you're kind of stuck with the Epic Game Store is the only way to interface with it for
until
now,
until it releases. Yeah.
And cool little things too as well, where like, you know, there's like, you have a list of pilots. If someone dies, they're dead. That's a permadeath. You lose that pilot forever. If you lose a suit, you lose that suit forever. And the way to get, you know, new suits is to go wreck enemies and salvage their parts. If you blow the fuck up out of everything, you get minimum salvage. But if you get them down to the point where they're crippled and they can't do anything, they eject and you get to keep the suit parts. You know?
Yeah!
So there is a actual game of like,
where'd they get that from, I wonder?
You absolutely have your Front Mission, or even if you want to go further before that, you got your Cyborg Justice. Give me that arm.
Yeah.
You know?
I want that arm.
Yeah. So there is a overkill and a sweet spot for like, oh fuck, he's got no weapons, he's gonna give up. And what's cool is like, when you click on the enemy units, you can see the timeline of like, he's gonna run around and like unload like his missiles or whatever, and then like you play your next turnout, you blow up that missile launcher, you blow up that left leg, it trips and falls and eats shit, and it's not dead yet, and then all of a sudden the enemy's timeline goes from that into he's gonna fall on the ground for 5 seconds, and then a little green thing says, and then he's gonna eject. You know. So like, yeah, you have that great little like
he's gonna piss his pants and maybe
he's gone, he's out, exactly. You know, so like, yeah, it's all of those little, you know, mechanics you want to see coming back from like, yeah, things like Front Mission and even like Hawken with your ability to customize and stuff. Fucking yeah, robot people, you know, like go take a look at this one. It's quite sick.
I like I'm so excited that this is turning out like I remember seeing it originally and it looked kind of rough, but the original idea was so cool. And now like second look, like, oh, it's still a little rough, but it's a lot less rough. Like my main hope is like, I hope they build like a great game around this incredible combat system.
So this is where we're at, right? Because so again, Phantom Brigade, it's got this amazing combat system, and you do a tutorial where you do a 1v1 and you go, oh, okay, cool, and then it's like, cool, now you have 2 units to control and you have 2 enemies, deal with that. And your brain, like, I just want to see the dream of a battlefield full of all of these units and like seeing how insane that is, and then you spend like 15 minutes organizing a play.
Right, you have a good processor.
Well, yeah. And so I got to a point where the last battle I fought was, I have 4 pilots and mechs out on the field, and I had 7 enemies, right?
That seems about as high as a game like that would actually go. Like, more enemies would file in, but
yeah, and that you blow them up, and then you can, if you don't escape in time, there will be drops for more and stuff like that, you know. And so like you look at every everyone's like timelines, and then you set up the perfect one for each of your 4, and that'll take you like setting that up is like maybe 10 minutes for one play of 5 seconds to make it perfect, you know? Like maybe not 10 minutes, that's exaggerating, maybe like 5. But it takes you a while, you know, to really be like, no, that's not the right line. I want him to move out and then cut a 90-degree like football pattern, you know, straight from here, because he dodges, and then at this 90-degree turn, he manages to hide right behind the wall while having just enough to get a shot off on this other thing. And you do all of that, and then you play it, and it's fucking great, man. There's some stuff that needs working out. Like there's a fatigue system that's not communicated as efficiently as it should be. The heat system as well. Like a lot of stuff that is in the HUD. Even though the HUD looks very pretty, it's not communicating really important information. And if you just kind of go in guns blazing and overheating all the time, like you're dead in seconds. Like you're fucking not long for this world. But if you learn the rules and like how to balance and everything going forward, like it's a lot of fun. So yeah, check it out. Phantom Brigade early access on Epic Games Store now.